Okay, Mr. John, the floor is yours.
Okay, so hi guys. It's a pleasure to have you. Last Saturday we did something on open source intelligence, and now I think the next step after doing the open source intelligence is now to get to assemble the right tools to try see what is in, or maybe to get to see whether the information that we've got can help us in the next step. So I'm expecting questions about pen testing tools in web applications, Android, network, server environment, that is Active Directory, and maybe any other thing that you feel like you need to get to know about pen testing tools. So feel free to unmute or maybe type on the chat box. And let's make the session interactive. And yeah, it's gonna be an awesome thing. Michael?
Hello.
Hi.
Hi. Is when I've just joined this time because it was due to network issue.
Okay, sorry for that.
Yes, just a network issue, but we can proceed.
Awesome.
So if there's anybody who has a question relating to this week's topic, which is pen test tools, you can ask the mentor anything that you want, to know. For example, the type of tools that can be used in different phases of pen testing, things like that. Feel free to ask whatever burning question that you have so that the mentor can aid you or assist you in that perspective so that you are able to have an understanding of what tool can be used at what stage in the pen testing, let me say, phases. So guys, feel free to ask any question.
Okay, so as you guys prepare to maybe ask questions, maybe let me mention something small. So, for instance, in web application, after now gathering the information and we've been able to collect some details about the site. If we have black box and white box testing, whereby in black box, you are coming from outside. You are not given much of the details about the site that you are trying to target. Sometimes you can just be given the URL or maybe the IP address and try see whether you can be able to find anything. Then there's the white box, whereby you are going to be given some details. You might be given test users, usernames and passwords. Try using them and see how you're going to find some of the things. Also, it's good to get to explore the site. If it's a site that is made for e-commerce, try see, can you be able to add something into the cart? Can you use a tool to be able to maybe manipulate a few things here and there? Maybe let's see, we see the traffic that is being exchanged within from that endpoint. I mean, from that that device that you are browsing to the server, such kind of things. Just getting to have a basic understanding of what you're trying to attack. Now, when it comes to mobile apps, I think mobile apps are quite, people say sometimes it's quite difficult compared to web apps, but I think it's the environment that somehow takes quite some time and you need to understand some concepts before you get in. Because when you are doing an assessment on mobile applications, there could be some controls that you have to maybe make sure that you bypass. In web application, what you might face is that the web application firewalls blocking you if they trace that you are trying to perform something that is going against maybe the firewall rules. But then when it comes to mobile apps, you might find that app cannot be able to run on an emulator. That is for the case where you do not have a physical device, that is Android or maybe iOS device. So you will have maybe to find ways to bypass that. For most of the hubs that are especially that are doing financial transactions, they may not be able to run on a rooted device. That is for both the emulator and the physical device. So you might also have to go ahead and try break into that. Then after also breaking into that, you find a way of now being able to maybe if it's intercepting the traffic or proceeding with other activities. For Active Directory is if you're doing the black box thing, is first of all being able to identify all the assets that are within that network. Then after identifying the assets that are within the network, maybe it's a server that is doing the whole controlling for all this is maybe the domain controller that is. Maybe it's a system that is supporting authentication. It's a system that maybe is supporting the centralized transaction. That is if it's something that is involving a financial institution. So in Active Directory, most of the times you'll find there are so many servers within that environment. So being able to identify which one is running what and what kind of activities are being done by the system or what softwares are running on that system. Is there something vulnerable? What tool can I use maybe to test a particular thing and such? So I believe now maybe a number of you have prepared a few questions, so proceed to ask.
Also, you may type your question on the chat if you don't want to talk. The mentor will also see it. If you want to ask your question, raise up your hand, and then the mentor will answer your question. So Mjuni has a question. Feel free to ask your question rather.
Okay, proceed.
Thank you, Mr. John, for this opportunity. I have two questions about the previous video uploaded on YouTube. One of the questions is that during the vulnerability scan by using Burp Suite, there's any noise that created to the victim server? If yes,
Pardon?
what technique? Pardon me? During the vulnerability scanning by using Burp Suite, there is any noise that is created to the victim server? If yes, what technique should you use to avoid such noise while performing vulnerability scan by using Burp Suite? The second one. Okay. The second one is that you explained about the penetration tools used in web and the mobile application. What about network penetration tools? I think you forgot to explain about that.
About network pen testing tools?
Yes.
Okay. So for the noise that might be created by Burp Suite, especially when you are doing aggressive scan, sometimes you might be blocked, but the Burp Suite that offers you vulnerability scan is the premium version of Burp Suite. So the free one doesn't have, unless maybe you get to use a cracked version of the Burp Suite. But again, it's always good to validate for the findings that you have been able to get, because it's an automated scan. a lot of times you might get fake positives, and this might impact your findings or maybe your report at the end. So it's always good to validate your findings. Sometimes, especially when you are using automated tools, you might be blocked for creating maybe noise, or maybe as a result of, especially when firewall finds that you are doing something that seems to be malicious. In most of the cases, it's the web application firewall, and there are a number of ways to be able to bypass. Maybe it could be Cloudflare. There's so many articles, or maybe someone who has experienced the same wrote an article on Medium, or maybe did a video on YouTube on how to be able to bypass. But again, they are quite different scenario. Someone else was maybe being blocked by Cloudflare. The method that they used, it might not be able to work. So it's also good to get to understand how is this thing working, and how probably can I do 1, 2, 3 to be able to figure out where the problem is. I don't know whether I have answered you, right?
Yeah, you have answered a lot, but my scenario based on uploaded video, especially you using upload and auditing.
Auditing the system.
When using Web Suite for biometric scanning, you try to use the crow and audit payload. Is this crow and audit payload create any noise?
So far, I've not had any issues from the end, but there's sometimes I get blocked completely from scanning a system. So the scan fails. Sometimes I do connect to the internal network, especially if it's sites that are hosted internally and not exposed to the public internet. When I connect to the internal internet, the internal LAN, local area network, most of the time I see it working. So I think it's an ideology of where system administrators get to block, especially traffic that comes from outside. Again, when you're scanning a system, there might be a lot of requests maybe that are coming from your end. So based on how the firewall rule is made, you might be blocked. So once you are blocked, it's now to figure out what is blocking you, and how can I be able to maybe bypass that. For example, on my screen, google.com, this extension called Wapalizer. If I open that extension, I'm able to see maybe some of the things that are running on the back end. Maybe let's say, I don't know, let me just Google a betting company. Say, let me not use that. Just want to use something that is publicly available. I don't know, should I use? Because I might just mention a name that is not so much sensitive for the case of this video, because I know it's public. Let me just use Microsoft.com. So when you use Wapalizer, you'll be able to see at the back end, they have quite a number of things that are running. So there's a CMS, there's a ACMI for maybe to prevent the DDoS and such. So if they do have something like a WAF, that is Web Application Firewall, you'll be able to see maybe they have some technology that is running on the back end to maybe check the traffic, and be able to see if it's Cloudflare, how do I get to bypass Cloudflare and such. Sometimes it could be a timed thing. When you do a particular thing, you get blocked. So they operate quite differently. Others go to an extent of blocking Nmap. So you can opt to use some other tools that maybe are not aggressive or opt maybe for a passive way of doing things. Other times your IP might get blocked completely, so you can opt to switch your IP to see how things will go. It's basically there's no I can say there's no specific procedure to be able to go. Sometimes it's trial and error to get to see what will work.
Thank you, Mr. John, for for this explanation. But what about question number 2? You explain about pen testing tools using web and a mobile application. What about network penetration tools that can be used?
Okay. For network, most of the times you'll be given assessment for a network. It will be composed also the assets that are hosted on that network. So by assets, I mean the servers, both maybe Windows and Linux servers in that environment. So at times most of the times you might be given access to the network. Other times you might not be given. So the first entry point is to try see whether you can be able to enter into that environment and connect maybe to the Ethernet, because once you get connected to the Ethernet cable, you already have access to that network. And now, once you access the network, you can start scanning for the devices within that environment. For my case, let me just let's see that. Probably could try run net discover and see whether you can be able to find some of the devices within that environment. So net discover will try go see whether there are, we'll try see the devices that are connected to that network, the local area network, and list some of them. And sometimes maybe you could see a particular device. You could see maybe this is a Cisco router, or maybe Cisco switch. This is a Windows server and such. And then now from there you can get to narrow down. When it comes to now narrowing down, and you are dealing with servers, there's a tool called CrackMap. Let me just open CrackMap. I think they are changing this to NetMap. I think something is it NetMap exec, Karim?
Yeah, they're changing it to NetMap.
Yeah, they are changing, but this one is still working. But I think it's good we can also get to learn from both of them before it's phased out. So CrackMap exec will get to show you which systems are running SSH. So SSH, most likely you'll find it's Linux-based. SMB, most of them will be Windows. But again, you might find some Linux running SMB. I think most of the findings in when you are dealing with servers might be SMB. Also try to see whether there's an endpoint that is running MySQL, database, FTP, RDP, LDAP, and such. So get to dive deep. I would recommend looking at a few videos, because we can't do a whole thing. I don't have a server within the network that I'm connected in, and again, I have not set up any virtual lab to be able to proceed with that. But maybe later we could look into that. So yeah. Then if you are getting to see inside now, maybe trying to exploit something, maybe you've scanned and you found that there is an SMB that can be able to authenticate without a password. There's another tool called Impacket. So Impacket can help you try to see some of the attacks you can get to run. There's another tool called Responder. So what the responder will do, a responder will get to capture the hashes as the devices are trying to authenticate within that network environment. So, wait, what did happen? Yeah, so responder, if you're in that environment, it will try to capture the hashes. So, if you're able to capture the hashes, if the password are not that strong, you'll be able to crack them if they are weak. But sometimes you would find that the passwords are quite strong and you maybe not be able to crack them. You'll spend a lot of time and maybe end up not succeeding. So there's something called pass the hash, whereby you can authenticate by passing that LM hash using in packet. So you could try see whether it will work or maybe you get blocked. So if now get probably to authenticate in one of the system, you could try whether what are some of the privileges of that endpoint that you've been able to compromise. I mean, the goal of doing a vulnerability assessment in a network environment that has servers is to take control of that server. And by taking full control, it to the optima, I mean, the full control would mean being the domain admin. You can be able to create users in that environment. You can be able to maintain persistency. You can be able to move laterally, that is moving from one device to another, and you can be able to maintain anonymity without being detected. So it's quite interesting. I would recommend some labs maybe on try Acme or maybe Hack the Box, or maybe pull some virtual machines from a platform called VanHub. Let me just type the name.
Thank you, Mr. John.
Yeah, VanHub. So there's quite a lot of tools that you can get to, only that we can't mention everything. Personally, I've mentioned most of the things that I do maybe when I'm doing an assessment for a network on a daily basis when I'm dealing with the network.
Thank you, Mr. John, for explanation.
Anybody who has a question, feel free to ask your burning question that you may have. As you all know that today we are talking about pen test tools. I hope most of you had watched the video that was on the YouTube. So it is to my hope that you guys have some more questions that you would like to know more when it comes to penetration testing and what type of tools. So if you have any question, just raise up your hand and then we can get started. Okay, Mr. Ramadhani, feel free to ask your question and mute yourself. The floor is yours. Cheers.
Hello, good evening. Hello? Hello?
Yes, I'm trying to figure out where John is.
Hello?
You can hear?
Yes, I can hear you.
Oh, okay.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Joe. I have 3 questions. First, I want to understand more about the post-exploitation tools called mimickers, or any post-exploitation tools that you prefer during penetration testing, and why? Secondly,
Mhm.
I want to know how do you typically manage penetration testing project from start to finish, and what methodologies or framework do you use?
Pardon? The last question?
How do you typically manage penetration testing project from start to finish? What methodologies or frameworks do you use on the real world example of penetration testing?
Okay, sometimes there's the pen test methodology where you
Yes.
start with scanning, try to enumerate the system. It's a five or six step thing, but some what will entail the success of that penetration testing is the amount of information you've been able to gather about that environment before you started, and now from there you get to scan the systems, find what is within that environment. Now see if there's SMB running within that environment. Can I be able to exploit? If there's a FTP, can I be able to log in? And after logging in, what have I been able to get? Have I been able to extract, let's say, sensitive files? Can I be able maybe to upload or maybe pull files from that server? If it's SSH, can I be able to maybe authenticate or brute force, and what is the impact of that thing? Then after that, now, can I be able to maintain persistency within the system that we've exploited? Or maybe can I be able to extend the attack further by maybe compromising another device from that device? That entails now, can you be able to use that device that you've compromised to scan other devices, or maybe make traffic be forwarded in a way that you can be able to see those other endpoints that are communicating with the device that you've already been able to compromise. So there's no let me say there's no particular thing that I can say this is the procedure you follow for the attack to be successful. This is because all systems are not the same. All the systems do not have similar misconfigurations. There are some environment you go and it will be easier for you to be able to get maybe findings. There are some other environments where things have already been fixed. They fixed some of the loopholes that they know can easily be used to attack their systems, and they've been closed. So we will have probably to find what are some of the other ways maybe I can be able to come up with findings. Because trust me, it's not always an easy task. There are sometimes you might go somewhere and let me give you a scenario. I had a friend of mine who said somewhere in an environment for almost 2 weeks without finding any single thing. The controls that are in place can't allow them to be able to even scan the system. You get blocked anytime you try scan something. So how can I be able now maybe to navigate from that? Because at the end of it, I need to come up with findings. And I mean, it feels weird if you give someone access to an environment for them to scan and come up with findings, and they come up with zero.
Okay.
So yeah, you will always be expected to come up with something. Because I mean, without coming up with something, you might be seen that you've not been able to do your work very well, or your competency might be doubted. So it's always good to dig deep. But again, security community is always very lenient to sharing information. Sometimes there are things we call low hanging fruits. So low-hanging fruits are maybe vulnerability that you're likely to find in most of the systems, or maybe something that has not been fixed, or those sometimes could be misconfigurations that maybe you could try and see maybe something has not been misconfigured. So in the event whereby you are not able to find anything, because this is not like a CTF. You know, a CTF, you are sure there is something that I'm going to find. But remember, this is a real scenario server. Whoever is maintaining that server knows that there is a threat actor somewhere or can use some vulnerabilities against us. So, and remember, at times they might have fixed such things. So it might not be maybe that easy to be able to find maybe. So we need to maybe get to dive a bit deep, that is. So on pen testing, I mean post exploitation tools, Mimikatz is one of the good one that will help you maybe to extract credentials from especially from Windows environment, to be able to see whether you can get to dive deep. Metasploit is another tool that we can use for post-exploitation, maybe maintaining persistency. But again, the payloads that are used by Metasploit can be sometimes can be blocked because they maybe have a particular signature that is publicly known. So those are the commonly used. These are PHP exploit for web, but I've not used PHP exploit. There's another one I saw someone used somewhere called Ghost Pack. So, but majorly what I've used from my end is Mimikatz and Metasploit. Metasploit will get to serve you most. Will get to serve most of the needs that you will you'll be doing. And again, it's a framework that has already been built. But also sometimes you can get to see whether if you want to maintain persistency, can you be able maybe to use a script that probably will modify some of the maybe permissions, or maybe if it's something to do with the Windows, you could modify the registry in a way that whenever by maybe deploying a malware, maybe that it's a small script that has been made using Python and maybe converted into an exe file for Windows environments, that whenever that PC tries to disconnect, this malware will always try to find the attacker and maybe connect to that endpoint for you to be able to continue having access to that environment.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay, so
Yes.
Pascal had a question
So,
where he said, sorry, you wanted to say something?
yeah, I didn't finish. Sorry, Mr.
Oh,
Carly.
okay, sorry, my bad. Yeah, it's okay, go
Yeah.
on, sorry.
Oh, okay. I have asked a question regarding the reporting as important tool for penetration testing. What the important keys or hint from report preparation after the pen testing? Are you prepare the report after the end of penetration testing, or are you document on each phase as you get the vulnerability or important issue that you want to put on the report so that you can present to the customer or management?
Okay, for the report is expected at the end of everything. So for me, in my own opinion, I would say first finish all the technical work, because most of the times, especially when you get to the corporate level, maybe you are doing a real scenario project. you will be apparently not dealing with only one thing. You might be doing an assessment for mobile apps for maybe it's a client or maybe it's your company. You could be doing a mobile app at the same time. You could be, after finishing the mobile app, you get to web applications. After that, you could be now getting to the network. After that, maybe you could be having some cloud environments that you also need to do an assessment on. So after this, now you get to classify issues that you've been able to find for the web, issues that you've been able to find for the mobile, and any other work stream that you are working on. So one of the scenario that for me I've encountered, we usually do what we call a working paper. So a working paper is a list of findings that will be used by the technical team to fix the issues. Because most of the times you are not the person who is going to fix the issues that you've been able to find, but you give you'll give recommendations to how you feel the issues can be fixed. But when it comes to also giving recommendations, I would say also stay neutral, because let's say we've recommended a client to install maybe an endpoint security from Kaspersky, and immediately they install that, they get attacked. What will happen is they will blame you for recommending Kaspersky. So it's good to always remain a bit generic, unless maybe they get to inquire more, or maybe you are working with that particular vendor to be able to help them remain secure. It's good to maybe say, for these particular findings, maybe find out a solution that can be able to maybe block this particular traffic from your environment. So then after now the working papers, now is our final report that maybe will be consumed by the board, that shows maybe what were you able to do, what were you able to find, maybe most likely a Word document that maybe will be later converted to a PDF file that can also be shared if there's any other third party or maybe a regulator that wants to see what is the work that was done. So that's now the final report that is maybe in the document part. So the procedure that we follow is now for the working paper, the technical team will be able to fix the issue that is been found, or maybe give us their comments. Sometimes we could say we've been able to find an SQL injection. We recommend maybe filtering the user input. So the technical team, maybe if they are developers, they will go and try do that on the code, and then they will give comments for all the issues and share with the pen testing team. So the pen testing team will be able to use the comments on the reporting, that is the final report that is consumed by the board, to say, hey, we were able to find these findings, and their technical teams have been able to fix these issues. The others, maybe they are trying to talk with other vendors, or maybe we've said it will take them like 3 months for them to be able to fix the issues within that environment.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe later, I could share a sample report after removing information that seems to be sensitive. I could share maybe a sample report to maybe work that has been done before for maybe an industry, but then remove all the sensitive thing that could maybe potentially show information that is not supposed to be consumed by maybe anyone outside that organization, for just someone who wants to explore the reporting methodology.
Thank you. I'll be grateful. Thank you very much.
Okay. But I believe you'll also get to have a reporting session, so there's no need to worry.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you very much.
Okay, Ramadhani, thank you for your questions. Just to add on top of what the instructor was saying, basically, you guys, what you should understand is that when it comes to penetration testing and vulnerability assessment, all these are a point in time assessment. It's not a 100% guarantee safety of your digital assets. So when I say point-in-time assessment, it means it helps you look at your security postures at that time when you are doing the assessment. As we all know that when you go to corporate environment, today you'll find that they have asset A, B, and C, and then 3 days later they introduce a new service, for example, especially mainly in the banking industry. So when it comes to this role of penetration tester, it only provides visibility on the problems that they are in a system at that point of time. So that's why I said it's a point in time assessment. Also, Ramadan, you asked your question, but it was a little bit vague on my side. So when it comes to doing penetration testing and vulnerability assessment, you should also understand that you may go to an engagement and you may or may not find vulnerabilities or weaknesses in that system. So each client that you engage, you should make it clear to them that yes, we are doing this assessment, but the assessment is to test your security posture, but not 100% get vulnerabilities, because at times you might be totally secure at that point of time. So that's the purpose of doing vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. When it comes to taking notes, generally, writing reports, what you can do is during an assessment, when it comes to writing reports, what you can do is when you're in the engagement itself, you can write notes. So you need to do note taking. So let's say, for example, you've done scanning and then you document what you've obtained in the scanning stage. You've done exploitation, you take notes on the exploitation stage, what you've done, what you've got, what vulnerabilities you found, etc. And then when you come to write the final report is when you include everything that you've taken on your notes on the final report and make it professional as possible. Some of the note-taking tools that are out there, most popular, number one, there's one called Obsidian. It's very popular. The second one is Notepad. I think everybody who has Windows machine can access that. There's another one called Notion, also accessible. And then there's another one called Cherry Tree. Also, you can find it on your Kali Linux machines or installations. In terms of report template, John, I don't think you need to suffer. There is, they can Google, I think is a report from offensive security. There you can get your report sample. So you can just get to Google and write technical report samples from offensive security. You can get the samples from there in PDF format, how you are expected to write a technical report. So that will be the simplest way for you, Ramadan, to get those information. So what I'll do is I'll paste the names of the note-taking tools and also what to search for in Google in order to get the reports, the sample reports rather, pen test reports. So yeah, that was just on a light note. So Pascal had asked a question. He said, I'm very interested in gaining hands-on experience with penetration testing as part of my studies. Is it possible to include practical penetration testing exercise in the curriculum? This will help me understand the methodologies, etc. If you could provide detailed practical exercise, students, thank you for including. Okay, yeah, so it's just general information. So for Pascal, yes, they're going to be labs. That's what we call them. You're going to find them on the what is called the platform, the CTF platform, pretty soon. Or we're going to also share some what is called links, which are going to have the machines that you guys are supposed to practice on. So don't worry on that. So Amina asks, can you recommend 2 beginner-friendly tools for conducting pen tests on web application? So I think, John, you can tackle that one. 2 beginner-friendly tools to conduct pen tests on the web apps. That question was from Amina.
Okay, thank you so much. Number to show. So this Nmap will give you or will enable you to be able to scan the environment. These are these metasploit that will help you with maybe some payloads that are customly built for different environment. That is for Android, Windows, iOS, Mac. So probably when you're trying to test whether you can be able to compromise something in your test environment, you can try see how can I be able to achieve that. I would also recommend installing this lab called Metasploitable, which will give you experience on how to do vulnerability assessments on web application, and also especially where for a framework like OWASP top 10, Metasploitable has that section whereby you can be able to test all the vulnerabilities in OWASP top 10 and get to see how are they exploited differently. And sometimes when you are testing, there could be some checks and controls that are put by developers. So how can I be able to bypass that? Let me use the example of a file upload vulnerability. So when you are doing an assessment on web applications, you could find there are some sections whereby you can be able to upload a file. So you're trying to test whether you can upload, if that server is running maybe on Python, whether you can be able to upload a Python backdoor, or maybe if it's running on a PHP, you can try to see whether you can be able to upload a PHP backdoor. So, and then you find the developers have realized that this can be an issue. So they are filtering the kind of files that you're uploading. If you're supposed to upload an image and you upload a .php extension, you get blocked. So this is where maybe some other tools like Suite, whereby you get to see whether you can be able to proxy the traffic, see how maybe how the request is being made and the response. Try see whether you can be able to, sometimes you could change that backdoor from PHP to that image that you're trying to upload, but then tap the traffic, convert it back to .php and upload, because maybe these checks are being done at the browser level, and once you submitted the traffic, that thing has already complied. So the time you are now picking that traffic with a proxy tool, could be Babsu, there's also man in the middle, something framework. They are quite a lot. So by the time now you are forwarding it, just past the browser level. So you try forward it. So say, check out Metasploitable, and you'll never regret. Could also try, these are very easy framework, a tool called Nuclei. Nuclei will get to simplify maybe some things for you when it comes to automated scans. Those low-hanging fruits, Nuclei might be able to maybe identify them and make the work easier for you. But at the end of it, when you've used the tools to automate the work and you've not been able to find anything, that's now when you get to do now the manual work. You get to do things manually. If it's injection attacks, you try maybe craft payload, or maybe try get to those listing from GitHub. There are quite a number of listing. If you Google SQL injection payloads, there'll be a list of even close to even 1,000 payloads that you can be able to try. You try see maybe how is the site behaving, what kind of a payload can I be able to draw on this site, and then now observe how the site is behaving after giving that payload. Same case when it comes to maybe cross-site scripting, or maybe local file inclusion and all that. Let's maybe have a look at our top 10. Yeah. again, on what Karima had mentioned before, especially those who are getting started in cyber. For those who have been already, who have been in the industry, maybe you might already know this. If you are starting and maybe you are getting projects, always for all the findings that you have on your report, make sure there is evidence. If you say something is not configured properly, show evidence. I think this is one of the challenges that I faced, whereby you get to do an assessment, gotten findings, but then maybe you've forgotten, or maybe you maybe never knew that the client will come to raise this question during presentation, or maybe whoever owns that system or maintains it. You tell them, I was able to gain access to your system. They ask, can you show evidence? Because sometimes you could even be lying, or maybe you are not able to gain access. So if you show them evidence, at least you're on the safe side. They know that now you are able to gain access. Now, the fact that you are writing the impact of if now I've been able to gain access to the domain controller in that Active Directory environment. Sure, maybe most likely I say a screenshot. Take a screenshot that you've gained access to this system, and sometimes you could even include the dates that you joined. The dates that if the screen, I mean, if the attack machine that you're using as the dates and maybe the time, it's good to also show, so that in case maybe there's any follow-up for someone else who has used such an issue against the system, you may not be on trouble, and also to save your career. Sometimes things happen where maybe you are trying to do something, but at the same time, another team has done something malicious, and probably they might want to put the blame on you. So evidence is very key when it comes to cyber. Yeah. I don't know whether there's a question I've not answered. If there's no, I think we can proceed to the next question.
Yeah. If you have any questions, guys, you may raise up your hand. But if you feel that everything is covered, you can just type on the chat, okay, so that we can end the session. Anybody who has a question? Okay, so I guess there is none. So, Mr. John, if you have any closing remarks that you wanna, give to the mentees, then yeah, this is your time. Cheers.
Okay, thank you so much. You guys have been amazing. So sometimes we might perceive as things will work in a straight way, but security has its own challenges. But one thing is we'll keep learning, even if you have 10 years of experience, or maybe you are getting started in your career. There's always something to learn in security. There's always something new that is happening. So I say, make sure that you are always updated with whatever it is that is happening in the field of security, and also connect with the relevant network within the domain that you want to pursue, maybe on LinkedIn, on Medium. And also, when it comes to your skills and creating a visibility of what you are doing, like right now, I'm sure you might be able to maybe do some labs. Let that not be the only maybe doing it for the sake of assignment. Go on Medium, maybe, or maybe on LinkedIn, or maybe any other platform like GitHub, whereby you can be able to write an article. Write that article on maybe how are you able to maybe perform maybe a cross-site scripting, or maybe gain access to a certain Linux box, maybe capture a certain flag. Just being able to write that, it will help you a lot, and simplify the work when it comes now to pitching yourself to a potential employer or maybe to a potential client that you are trying to win a job on. So let your work be visible, but not maybe it's good to have a certificate and everything, but also it will also be much more better if the work that you've been doing can be seen. If today I'm trying to break into something and I'm facing challenges, I've written an article on what I'm doing. Maybe well, those people that are maybe are trying to interact with my articles are able to see maybe I was facing a challenge somewhere. 1 year later, you are still doing it. Maybe you're writing one per month. You'll be able to see improvements, and that is quite a good thing. Being able to see these are someone who is actually progressing upward and could be an asset in an organization. So guys, feel free to talk to us and maybe any other mentor that you'll come across. Feel free to also connect with them on LinkedIn and maybe on Twitter and get to see what they are doing. The security community, as I had mentioned earlier, is very is generous in a way that you can actually be able to approach anyone on LinkedIn and they talk to you, feeling like there's a challenge somewhere and it's an area that you want to venture in. Feel free to talk with them. And maybe if they are not able to, there's quite a lot of experts that can be able to maybe respond to your questions. So don't feel intimidated. Always feel free and always speak of yourself. So thank you so much. Enjoy your weekend.
Thank you, Mr. John. But before you go, there is someone who I had forgotten his question. I was kind of scrolling right now on the chat and came across his question. So if you could just spare around 5 minutes, give or take. I don't know if you covered tools like Metasploit, Nmap, Babsuit, and Wireshark. So the question was, can you just provide an overview of those tools? Yeah, that was a question, and it's from Pascal. Pascal, sorry, I missed your question earlier. But yeah, John, if you can do that, just for around 5 minutes or less, it's going to be perfect, and then we can close the session for today. Thanks. Hello, John, I don't know if you're there.
Sorry, I was speaking on mute. Let me start with Wireshark. So a Wireshark is a network tool that will help you to have a visibility of what is happening in that network. So if you power on your Wireshark and select the interface that you want to capture, if you are connected to Ethernet, if you are connected via, how do I call it, via the LAN and the wireless network, you'll be able to see which device is trying to talk to the other, what kind of communication are they sending to a particular device. Sometimes there could be communication that is not properly encrypted. And by the way, if you find communication that is not being encrypted, I mean, it's visible, you're able to see usernames and passwords. That's a finding, actually a very sensitive thing that you should be able to include in your report and get the team to be able to fix that. So Wireshark is very useful, especially when you'll be doing network. So during the bootcamp, feel free to interact with Wireshark, get to perform a few things here and there. Babsuit is mostly it's used for vulnerability scan if you have the premium version or maybe the cracked one. But also it is very useful when it comes to seeing the traffic. So it will stand between your browser and the server. What other users are not able to do when they are maybe just submitting forms on our website, you'll be able to see that. And being able to have the visibility of what is being exchanged between my browser and the server gives me that power to be able to maybe see what if I modify this and twist it this way and send it to the server. Or maybe what if I modify the response that I'm getting to the server and forward it to the browser? What will happen? So Babsuit, that is for visibility of the traffic in between the device and the server and acting as a proxy tool. Then Nmap, it is for being able now to interact actively with either the server or the network. Getting able to query some of the things that are within that environment. If maybe I was scanning a network and I've came across some IP, I want to know what is this IP about. Is it a router? Is it a server? Is it maybe a different kind of an endpoint? Nmap will help you that maybe by showing you the ports that are running. There are some particular ports that you know. If maybe I find port 80, port 43, this is likely to be a website. Yeah, but again, you can also be able to query the software versions that are running, and sometimes software versions can help you to be able to know the system that is running on that particular system. So Nmap is for interacting with the system and maybe querying some more details about that system that will help you to further your attack. For Metasploit, it's a command and control tool that has a pre-built payloads that will help you and simplify most of the work that you'll be doing. Sometimes you could be scanning an environment and come across something like a server that is vulnerable to this vulnerability called eternal blue. So Metasploit will give you very easy environment for you to be able to compromise such a vulnerability. And to a point that it would even be able to have some other payloads within that tool to help you maybe try see whether you can be able to move laterally from one device to another and such. I don't know whether I've been able to answer your questions the way you expected, or maybe you can let me know if you need some more clarification on that, Pascal.
Yes, but also if you can just share your screen and show the tools so that people can know how the tools look like, because most of them are new. So if you just mention them, they wouldn't really know what tools they are. So yeah.
There is a Nmap. Or maybe you can just clear the screen. But just say Nmap and then can type help. So you get to see what are some of the commands that you can run to extract to help you in achieving different objectives. These are the Wireshark. If you're running Kali, you can be able to search it from the search box. But also if you go to the terminal and type Wireshark, it will be able to pop up. For example, I am connected on wireless, local area network. So if I select it, Wireshark should be able to pick and start capturing the traffic within that environment. So then after some point, you can be able to pause and now get to inspect the traffic that you captured. I believe there will be a task on this. I think Wireshark is one of the tool that when it comes to testing around security is used. So another tool is that is Babsuit. Community edition. Start. So this is Babsuit. The first thing I will do after powering on my Babsuit is to go to my browser, make sure that my browser is forwarding traffic to Burp Suite. So if now my browser is forwarding traffic to the Burp Suite, it means everything I'll be able to log in. If I say login admin and I say maybe password is 1234, and I click on login, that traffic should be able to be captured. Maybe I activate intercept so that I can be able to intercept the traffic that is coming from my browser. I'm able to see what is being exchanged from that end. And later we can get to look at the work of an intruder, the work of a repeater, the work of maybe those other functionalities that we see. Then which other tool have I not mentioned? Is Metasploit. So let me Metasploit and SF console. Oh, yeah. I've been mentioning Eternal Blue a lot. So let's say, for example, I was doing an assessment. I found in that network, there was a server that was running maybe SMB, maybe it's maybe a Windows 7 or maybe Windows 8. It's running SMB version 1, and I want to see maybe if I could try gain access to that system using Eternal Blue, a vulnerability that is commonly used to attack Windows systems. Maybe I come and say, I use Metasploit, and then I proceed to say, hey, use vulnerability to use payload to exploit a system. Then I could say options to be able to see what some other settings do I need to maybe set for my payload to be able to execute it on the target server. If maybe you look at there's somewhere written host, so I need to be able to set the IP for the remote server that I'm trying to exploit. Because from here we can see this is something that is required. Maybe it's another thing. The master reading is the host. So then from there we can proceed to run our exploit against that system and see. At times you might get blocked, other times it may succeed. Now, when you get blocked, that is the time now you get to run to Google, ChatGPT, Gemini, and other platforms where you can try to figure out how do I solve a particular challenge that I have.
Okay, thank you for the short and brief explanation of the tools. Pascal, I hope you've managed to see the tools themselves, how to get them. So I guess what's remaining is for you to do a little bit more research because not everybody is going to spoon feed you when it comes to security. So you need to make a little bit of efforts to look in further into the tools and what they do. So I guess this marks the end of our session today. Thank you very much, everybody, for making it here today and being here with us and with the mentor. Mr. John, thank you very much for sparing your time. I know it's been, you have a lot of work to do, but you've managed to clear your schedule and be here with us today. So thank you very much. Light note to the mentees. There are going to be some questions on the platform for you to practice more on the OSINT tools. We're going to provide some additional resources for the labs in relating to OSINT and labs in relation to the penetration testing tools for you to practice and work on your skills and sharpening your skills and getting the hands-on experience. So we're going to do that in the next few minutes, and the updates are going to be shared on the group. So we'll be on the watch out for that one. So once again, thank you very much, everybody, for being here, and we're going to see you on the next session. So bye-bye, guys, and take care. Have a lovely weekend. And also, the recording is going to be on the YouTube channel also. So also watch out for that. So bye, everybody. Cheers, and have a lovely weekend. Bye.